Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Coming to the end of a working day today. I have lazy days most of the time. Today was a working day. I started off, got all the bag, well, I got a lot of the bags out of the carport into the car. Had to wait for the ice to thaw out on the windscreen. And then got that lot up to the recycling centre and came back, had a quick coffee, had a look on the computer, and I thought, why don't I just do the rest of the bags and do a second trip rather than leaving it till another day. So I got the rest of the bags in the car and I thought, well, now all the bags are gone, I could sweep up and really tidy the carport so that I can back the car right in. So I did that. And hang on, I just want to, Elvis looks like he might actually want to go out. No, I didn't think he would. He was at the door. He got a little bit half frightened, half curious, and half aggressive. That's three halves. One and a half Elvis is. A big black cat walked along the fence really slowly and carefully while he was sat on the end of the computer table. You could see him like, what are you doing in my garden? But he wasn't prepared to go out and deal with it. And nor was I, quite honestly. It wasn't doing any harm. Yeah, so Elvis still doesn't go out. He never goes outside now. I'm hoping when the better weather comes and I go outside and have a sit down in the sunshine, he'll come out with me. But at the moment, he never goes out. Mojo does. He comes and goes. But Elvis doesn't go out at all now. So that's cats. Right, so I got the rest of the bags in the car, gave the carport a good sweep, got rid of all the leaves, and there was still some shards of glass where the dopey child next door, they threw a TV out and he just couldn't bear to see that screen in one piece, so he got a hammer and broke it. Of course all that glass went, that was when they were still using my side before I'd managed to clear them out finally. So I've got those little shards of glass out of the way. Quite honestly, they were too small to damage a tyre because that's wafer thin stuff. The tyre would have just crushed it with the weight of the car. Anyway, then I took the second lot up to the tip and got rid of that lot. So I can now actually clean the car because I'd rather have a clean car to go to Mathers on Saturday rather than the state it's in now. You can't get near a car wash at the moment. They're queuing round the block. It's where we've had all the really cold weather, the gritters have been out and the salt gets on the road, melts the frost and all things like that, it gets wet and it gets all over your car. And of course everybody's got a dirty car and they all, you know, so you can't get near a car wash. I will hopefully get near one as the week progresses. I haven't got the facilities here to do it really, so you know, I have to do it in a car wash. I might have to travel to one. There's one on the outskirts of town that doesn't get used as much, but the ones in town, as I say, they're queuing right out into the road. Now, I'm not sitting in a queue for an hour to wash the car. That ain't happening. Right, so that's the work I did, and I've done quite a bit of work on the computer to do with the Orchid Society. We're getting things more organised so that we know where everything is. There's things like handouts, our actual handbook. There's a show book that goes, you know, when we get a new member, they get a pack that's handed to them. And, you know, we're trying to find out what, because the last member that joined a while back, I gave them the new members pack, not thinking it was the last one, so we didn't know what was in it because they ran off with it. But we found out, Lynn and I have been working on it, and basically we've got, I found some more now in the show box, the box I only take to shows. So the fact it's only twice a year, I didn't exactly know what was in it, but we found some more packs, so we're okay there. And I've been doing some amendments to the handbook, and I need a few bits more from Lynn before I can print some off so that we've got some spares. So I've been doing some computer stuff. And now as far as, and I've been watering as well, I've been doing some watering, not a lot. The mounts got watered, and they got the sprayer, and the holy clay pots got watered. They got the sprayer as well this time round, and that was just a low feed, you know, so just a sprinkle of feed in the sprayer basically. Didn't even measure it. It's probably about somewhere between 70 and 100 parts per million, so a low feed. At that level you don't really need to know exactly what it is. But while we're on the subject of feed, we have some new blooms. Now I'm going to turn the camera off, put my wine down reluctantly. Well, I haven't touched it yet, have I? It's just something to hold. If you notice, when I haven't got a cup of coffee or a wine glass, I wring my hands, and when I see it on the video, it annoys me, because it's a habit that I don't necessarily realise I'm doing until I see it. So by having something in my hand, it stops me doing it, which is, I don't necessarily have to drink it, although it's. You can possibly see out the window, we're getting to the time now where in late afternoon the sun finds a gap between next door's house and the big tree, and it's starting to sort of just touch into the garden sort of late afternoon now, and then after that's gone it gets dark relatively quickly after that. Right, so on the subject of feed, we have some new blooms to look at. So I'll shut down, pick up the camera on my hand, and then get the plant down and we'll have a look. I'll be back. Right, so what we've got here is Laelia anceps. Now this produced 3 new growths, or let's put it this way, it started 3 new growths, all of which produced spikes. One of the spikes rotted. This one, a bud's blasted, leaving one. And this one was the only one that sort of showed any signs of staying where it should be and had its 2 blooms. 2 blooms on a Laelia anceps spike is not good. 4 or 5 is more normal. And look at the size of them. They're tiny. They're perfectly formed, but they're tiny. And therein lies the theory of coming back to the feed. The new growths that provided the spikes are undersized, thin, leaf shorter than it should be. Again, this was the one that had the spike aborted. Nice sort of green leaf, but the bulb's smaller than it should be. As these go along, they should stay the same or get bigger. They shouldn't get smaller. Now I'm coming to the conclusion that my change of feed to the K-Lite is causing problems. Now it might be other factors are included there, but you have to bear in mind Laelia anceps does not need the heat that a lot of the Cattleyas and Laelias need. It's classed as a cooler grower. It comes from higher elevation, so it's a cooler grower, so it's not a heat issue. Yeah? In addition to that, it certainly gets more than enough light in here. Well, if you take those environmental factors away on the grounds that they're okay and should be fine for this plant, what's left? Open-ended question. Anyway, I mean, certainly for the time being, nothing is getting much food because it doesn't need it this time of year. I mean, yeah. These are attractive blooms. At the end of the day, it's a pity I'm not on my phone and I can't get that close on this thing, can I? Certainly not handheld. But these are beautiful blooms, but these are grossly undersized. I would say 2/3 of the normal, actually I'd say half the size they should be. So undersized bulbs, which is a shame, a lost spike and a lost bud, plus not as many buds as there should be. This plant is showing signs of lack of feed, or let's put it this way, lack of suitable feed. So it's not growing and blooming properly. Now, as I said, I'm leaving that open-ended because there are other things that seem to have done okay. So it's difficult to tell. But I've had this plant some time and it's always bloomed better than that. It's never had 3 spikes before, but then I didn't end up with 3, did I? And it's always had more blooms than that, and they've always been twice the size. So this plant is not doing as well as it should do. So well, once this blooming's over, it'll start pushing out new growths, and it's going to have to be repotted then anyway, or the new growths will be over the side of the pot. So we'll give it a repot. And a lot of my cattleyas are probably going to come out of the holy clay pots as I get round to repotting them, but this one will probably go back in a holy clay pot as it's a cooler grower. Having that little bit of extra cool round the roots is not, in theory, going to do it any harm. And the holy clay pots are good for cattleyas, apart from the fact they chill the roots a little bit more than perhaps I would like. So yeah, there we go. But that is definitely a poor blooming on a plant that I've had some time and has always bloomed better than that. I say that, one year it didn't bloom at all, because in my infinite wisdom I thought, this is round the other place, I thought, this is a cooler grower. If I put it on the floor next to the inlet fan, it'll get a nice cool breeze all the time, reflecting where it comes from. Yeah, that was the bottom shelf. It lost its light, so it didn't bloom at all. Grew nicely, but it didn't bloom. Lost the light. So all these factors combine to get the sort of comfort zone for the orchids. Anyway, I shall leave it at that for today. Food for thought, you know. But as I said, I've gone back to using the MSU now. I don't see any reason to stay with the K-Lite. It was an experiment that started partway through the year in a difficult growing year following a move of the house. So it hasn't really had a fair crack of the whip. But although I sort of agreed with it in principle, you have to bear in mind all around the world people are feeding their orchids with a much more normal fertiliser and entering them in shows, and they've got prize winners and things like that without going down to a strange concept. So as I said, I'm just going to go back to the standard MSU now, and we'll go from there. Yeah. And unfortunately, although I do all my thank yous and everything like that on my Sunday video, I'm not changing that. I'm afraid I'm going to have to plug the membership. So if you want to really support the channel, I've opened up memberships now. You can join at one of 3 levels and offer a monthly sort of subscription to get a few goodies and become a member of the channel. And then when you leave a comment, you get a little medal alongside your comment so that people know you're a member. And I'm hoping to get a few different ones, because at the moment nobody's been a member longer than a month, because I've only just started doing it, so everybody's got the same badge. But there is a facility there to have different badges for the length of time people have been a member. And I think that's worth me looking into, to show the people that stay with it rather than just come and go quickly, if you see what I mean. So I'm working on that. Hopefully I'll get there before anybody else does, because as I said, I've only just started this. So yeah, there we go. Membership is open. You're free to join. Well, it's not free, but it's not expensive. I've kept the levels nice and low, so it doesn't cost a fortune. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.